Hello, hello, hello.
Hola.
Are we still in the Spanish wavelength right now?
Hola. We are bilingual today. Only for one word, though.
We're bilingual by one word.
Yeah. Not to brag or anything.
Subtle flex, but okay.
Welcome back to the Midnight Memo. Thank you so much for joining us. Wow, wow, wow. Yep. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're listening to this podcast.
In the right order today. I'm so proud of you.
I did. Thank you so much.
Look at
it
that
took a lot of
growth.
effort. We're so excited to have you here. My name is Claire.
And I'm Kristen.
And I have illness. So apologies in advance for my voice during this podcast, but we will try our best.
I think you're fine, but yeah, better to have that warning in the middle. In the middle? In the beginning. I'm fine.
And now you're out of order.
And now I am out of order.
We switched.
I'm fine. I promise.
Everything is fine.
I'm just delusional a little bit. I blame catching up on sleep from this weekend, you know?
True. Yeah, you were camping, so.
I was out camping. But it was like, it's weird because it was so restful still. Restful, kind of. Like, I didn't do much. I was just out in the wilderness vibing with my partner and our friends, just hanging out. So it's not like I did anything like very labor intensive.
Yeah.
Except for at the very beginning when we have to pack and prep for camping, and at the very end when we had to clean up all our camp stuff. So yesterday we drove, oh gosh, I was driving for like 4 hours back.
Wow. So fun.
It was, yeah, I love that. And then when we got home, immediately showered because we stank of just camp. And then quickly tried to clean up our gear, and then we were just tuckered out and tired. I think we were in bed by like 10 last night.
Nice.
So I have no excuse really for why I'm so tired, but today I was very tired and I was a little all over the place, as you can tell from my overall demeanor today.
T.
How was your weekend, dude?
It was good. It was this past week was busy because the dance studio that we go to it was closing, so it was having their last week of I know. Devastation.
It really is so sad and so sudden. It hurts me deeply.
It was really sad, and it was very short notice. So everyone was kind of still in shock and just trying to get everything together.
Yeah. In
a sense of wrapping things up. Yeah. It was definitely sad because I think I built a pretty good community there, and so now with the studio closing, there's kind of like an in-between stage of, okay, well, where is everyone gonna go next?
Yeah,
you know?
Totally.
Yeah. But so yeah, this past week was kind of busy with a bunch of dance events, and then this weekend was pretty chill. I didn't really have much to do. I was just catching up on some things work-wise and just hanging out. And
you
then
were working this weekend?
Just a little bit, because
that's terrible.
We had this huge bug come up. Technical talk. We have this huge bug come up on Friday afternoon, and
the most convenient time for it to happen too.
Oh, I was so upset. I think I logged off at like 8 p.m. on Friday, and then my bug was still not resolved, so I had to go. Me and then another coworker were talking on Saturday. We fixed the bug, and then we had to wait for it to be deployed into a different environment to test it on Sunday.
Right.
Before the demo was this morning, which is Monday. So it was like,
okay, that's why you worked this weekend. I was like, literally, that would have been a Monday me problem. But I guess if you had a demo today, that kind of
and
hard.
it was because my the rest of my team is on the East Coast right now because they're on site, and so the meeting was at 8:30 a.m. our time, Pacific Standard Time. So I'm like, I don't really have a lot of leeway in the morning to like finish things up. Otherwise, I totally would have done that. So, yeah, but it was chill.
Other than that,
it was chill. So I slept a lot.
Good. I'm happy you got sleep. I was just telling Claire, I had dreams this weekend, guys.
I know.
I dreamed 2 days in the row. I think I had dreams I vaguely remember having dreams. And they were 2 nights in a row. The wilderness, man. Brings something out of me. I don't know.
They do.
It brought
You're
something.
becoming one with the environment around you.
Nature's pretty neat. Nature.
I have, I guess, I don't know if it'd be a good segue, but there was this thing that I was thinking about this past week was how other people view me in the different relationships I have.
Ooh, okay.
So I guess, I don't know, really, where did this start? Why was I thinking about this? Let me play it back. What was I doing this past week? Okay. So there was some drama happening in like some social groups dance. Obviously the studio's closing and all of this stuff, and it kind of made me realize that I've made a lot of connections there, and so I'm really like, I guess, a little worried that I'm going to lose those connections without that studio kind of connecting us. But it also, like, realistically, I've grown up in the dance community, and similar to you, like, you grew up in the cheer community, and when things get really, really intense and there are a lot of talented people, a supportive group can kind of turn into a toxic group, you know? Where you're kind of competing against one another on a team rather than working together on a team. And I'm not saying this is my team at all, but there are, like, I don't know, I guess kind of because I was away from the dance community for so long, all through college, through like the last few years as I've been bopping around for jobs and stuff like that, re-entering into the world, I'm slowly getting reintroduced to a lot of the competitive dance culture, which also kind of worries me, and which is why I really appreciated the studio, because it was a lot of people who are just like normal people, had real jobs, danced as a hobby, but I wouldn't say that they made dance their entire life, you know. And so I'm starting to kind of like see that there are drama, you know, kind of starts again when you become kind of competitive with the people around you. And luckily, like, that studio, I have not seen that. But like by proxy, once you start getting into a community, you start being exposed to the drama that goes on within those communities. So like, for example, the LA dance community has probably the most talented people ever, and a lot of people, if you make the right connections, are amazing, but there are people who are cutthroat. And I guess it's like me kind of navigating my confidence through that community here in Seattle, and like finding where I stand and finding like my confidence. I feel like I had a point and we went whoop, we hopped right over the point. What was I saying?
So you're talking about, I don't know if this is going to help you find grasp of where this train of thought was going, but you're talking about how it gets really competitive, it gets kind of toxic, the dance community, just being in that competitive environment. But the current dance studio, or the dance studio you were just going to, didn't have that environment, didn't breed that type of toxicity. So were these realizations more of a retroactive hindsight 2020 situation of like, you're in the dance community, you're embedded back into the dance world, and you're just thinking like, oh wow, this is such a great experience, this is nothing like before when this toxic situation happened to me, or whatever. So was it more of a like reflective realization, or triggered through proxy of other things, like not your dance
I think
studio,
it was triggered through
ones?
something else. Oh my god, Claire, come on. Yeah, so this new dance community I've really, really value because all of the people I've met through it are so supportive, and there hasn't been any negative competition. And if anything, like, all the people you meet, they're there to like lift you up and make you better. And I think that it's just a really unique experience. And so, yeah, it is a bummer that is going away now. But I was trying to tie it into something and it just did not work. But yeah, I guess it was kind of like made me reflect on previous, bad environments, dance environments that I had been in as a kid. And reflecting back on it now, when I was younger, I was like in that really competitive world. Not necessarily competition dancing, but I was part of a program at my studio. We were like signed with the Royal Academy of Dance, where we had to do examinations every single year, and there are it breeds a lot of mean girls, surprisingly. For sure. Yeah, and a lot of interesting dynamics there. I feel like you could probably relate.
Oh, 100%. There was definitely being in the cheer community, I think in general, sometimes, you have those supportive groups, and then there's other times where it's a mask of positivity, especially being a cheerleading, where you're supposed to be preppy, go, go, go. But then it gets very toxic in the back of having the competitions, and then there's like these different categories, right? It's like, oh, are you a sideline cheerleader? Oh no, are you a competition team? And then within that, it's like, oh, you're just high school competition, you're not all-star competition, which has a type of elitism to it of out of school, out of org, separate organizations, and they're oogle's expensive, and there's that competitiveness to try to get into these exclusive clubs and that sort of a thing. And yeah, I tried as much as possible growing up, tried like just to not be involved and touch that, but you definitely get pulled into it vicariously, just like existing in that world sometimes.
Yeah, it's really crazy how those niche groups can go from like a family, quote unquote family, to like a quote unquote cult.
It really is.
There's such a fine line.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, and I think it's like, like what you said before, there is an aspect of elitism when you get into those groups, teams, things like that. And from a young age, it is crazy because that can start from such a young age. Like nowadays, dance teams, cheerleading teams, any really sports teams that you're starting from a really, really young age, I think that it can kind of morph. It's a dangerous game because like if you're good, like then you should be rewarded for being good, but it also kind of can give you an inflated ego of sorts. And I remember when at my studio growing up, there was the owner of the studio had children that also attended classes, as they should, but every class, like, they would move up the ranks far faster than anyone else would, like they had those privileges, and so did their friends. Like if their friends wanted to move up the ranks too, they could. And it was so annoying, and they would kind of like ruin the classes for the rest of us who were actually trying to work on our skill and were actually at that level. Like I'm not saying that her kids were not talented. They're still very talented. They were just
like missed class, like they were in levels that they weren't there yet.
Yeah, and I think I'm maybe 3 years older than her, so technically at that age too, I would be like 2 to 3 levels above her. Just training wise, especially for ballet. And she would just be like, oh yeah, like I'll just jump into this class, and so all her and her friends would like monopolize the class and by just like really messing up and fucking around. And I'm like,
they're not trained at that level just yet, but they're trying to perform at that level, and it pulls back and it holds back everyone else in the class who actually is at that level.
Yeah, but anyway, I think what I was trying to, my whole arc from. So long story
arc?
Longer. Yeah. Oh, my villain arc.
My guy.
Oh shit. Like, that was a good transition. Yes, those growing up in those environments, you know, competitive environments and stuff like that, I think it's a perfect breeding ground to have those quote unquote villains, like your origin story, you know. For a lot of like stereotypical origin stories of the villains, right? So if you look at TV representations, movie representations of the mean girls,
the villain
or whatever,
tropes,
the villain tropes, I feel like they all have to, I'm focusing mostly on like the mean girls, like not, you know, the boy jocks or whatever, but the mean girls, they always have like a weird elitist upbringing or something like that. And I think that was like when we were growing up, that was a classic villain story, right? Where it was like, oh, this girl, she's the mean girl of whatever, but she's really just misunderstood. Fast forward to 2022 now, the villain story, the villain origin story, as viewed from an adult perspective, is so different.
What is your adult villain? What would you say the villain story is as an adult in the adulting complex?
As an adult, I think it's quite more complicated. It's like complicated and simple at the same time. The villain origin story now, I think, is living for you, living to please yourself rather than living to please others, which is kind of like, it's like a weird dynamic of like, oh, that seems so simple, but like for a lot of reasons, I think it's like you have to go through so much healing, so much like self-discovery to get to that point to be like, all right, I'm the villain, you know?
I have so many thoughts right now, and I'm trying to like categorize them to be coherent thoughts.
I mean, you just heard me blabble. Is that even a word, blabble?
Blab?
I think it's just blab.
I think you meant to say babble and blab, and you said blabble.
Coined in the Claire Norman Dictionary. TM.
Put that into your Clarisms.
Yes.
Blabble.
Yeah, but you just heard me like ramble on for like 15 minutes, having literally no point. So you can cut like half of that out. Cut half of it out.
I think you reached an interesting point of view of how the villain, quote, quote, the villain arc, they're being in your villain era, that we view it now as adults. And I think that's the one that's trending on TikTok, is like you said, is not being a people pleaser anymore. But what that means, by not being a people pleaser, you're only a villain to the people who took advantage of you being a people pleaser. You know, and I think that reads into the fact that, you know, you're never going to be the good guy in everyone's story. You're always like that point of, or not that point of view, that age-old saying of like, you can't be a hero in everyone's story. Like somewhere along the line, you're going to hurt someone. You're going to be a villain to someone. You can't please everyone. And that's the whole point of quote, quote, villain eras now, is you finally, that's like you said, that self-realization of finally being like, I can't please everyone. I'm not going to be the hero in everyone's story. So, all right, I'm the villain. Whereas when we were teenagers, that Elias point of view that you were talking about, it's when we're looking outside and we're seeing, okay, who's the villain to me specifically. I think that's what I was going for.
Yeah, I follow.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if I followed what I just said, to be honest.
Yeah, the modern day villain is just being you.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the realization of a person's picture of you in their lives is different for everyone. Like, I see myself in a certain light. My mom sees me in a certain light. You see me in a certain light. Bud sees me in a certain light. But it's never going to be the same person, which is really, if we can talk about that for a moment. A mind fuck.
Mind fuck, yeah. Hold up. Calibrating.
Yeah.
Damn.
Like, I'd like to think that I'm a pretty consistent person across the board. Like, I don't change my personality around different people.
Right.
Like, I'm just like, I feel like I'm pretty consistent personality-wise. Like, I will talk to you the same way I talk to my mom, the same way I talk to Bud. You know, like, I don't try to pretend to be different people to, like, fit a different image for each social group. But, like, even though I still feel like I'm consistent, like, everyone views me differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have a different role in everyone's life.
Yeah, you definitely do. At first, when you were saying you're consistent across the board, I was going to go somewhere else of being like, yeah, it's how you present. Taking your consistencies aside, like, how someone views you is about how you present yourself to them and then how they interpret that. So they, like, each individual person gets a different facet of your life and who you are. But each person's facet is different, and then eventually they all add up to you, but no one has all facets of you.
Yeah.
Which is kind of wild.
It is crazy.
Like, no matter how much you think that you're the same across the board, I don't know. Do you think there's a way for someone to know truly know you then? That's depressing.
I don't know.
Wow, that's depressing.
Well, there's a study that's like, oh, it really takes like 3 years for you to know a person. But yeah, no one's going to know you as well as you know yourself. I guess that also just kind of feeds into the fact that, like, you have to live for yourself, you know, which kind of like trails back to the villain origin story. But would you consider yourself like a people pleaser?
100%.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm such a people pleaser. I want to think I've gotten better with age. Like recently in the last couple years. But
the old age.
But I don't know, dude. I think I've gotten slightly better, but like not by much. I still have heavy people pleaser energy.
I got you. So would you consider yourself having entered your villain era, or is that still like in your future?
I mean, in this context then it would be in my future, because I'm definitely not at the point where I can dismantle my people pleasing tendencies. I wish, but I don't think so. But it's hard, and I don't know if it's because people pleasing is like so deeply ingrained in me. I don't know if this is absolutely true, but I feel like I also like I want to say yes to everything, which is part of people pleasing, right? Like I want to make time and space for everyone who asks or needs part of my time. I really do, and I really try. And most of the time I genuinely don't have any problem with that, you know, like people ask me for this, or they need help with this, or they want my time here to spend time with me, or because they need something. Like 9 out of 10 times I'm not opposed to giving that time anyways. I think just innately, especially if it requires nothing more of me, like it doesn't require more thoughts, efforts, whatever of me, then I'm like, yeah, sure, why would I not do that? Especially if it helps the other person. Maybe I'm just exposing myself as a like deeply like troubled people pleaser right now, but I don't, like 9 out of 10 times I don't have any issues with it, so I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? But that 10th time when like I just really don't want to do it, then I've noticed more lately, then I will try to somehow negotiate my way around it, either tell the person no or try to find some formal workaround of nicely saying no. But that's uncomfortable to me, but I will try to do it. So yes and no. I'm still a people pleaser, but that's how I think I've gotten better, in the sense of like for that 10th time when I just, for whatever reason, I'm not in the mood, I can't handle it, like I try to set the boundary and be like, I can't for X, Y, and Z reason. I might still make an excuse, so I'm not like a fully reformed people pleaser, but
she's not a fully recovered people pleaser.
We're still in the recovery process, but like
she's a recovering people pleaser.
You know, it's hard, okay?
For sure.
You're not a people pleaser though.
No, ma'am. I am not. And I'd like to say that I recently went through a villain origin story, but the truth is,
really?
I think it was long, long ago.
In a land far, far away.
In a land far, far away, there was a young girl who just said, I don't give a shit. No, just kidding.
That definitely came with the being 4 years old and walking straight the fuck off of the soccer field. Like, that's where the origin, in my mind, that's where the origin story began. Was baby Claire getting hit on the soccer field at a game, saying abso-fucking-lutely not, and walking straight off of the field, just down the road and away from everyone, walking her happy little ass home.
She was an adventurer.
That's it for me.
Yeah, I can think of a time before that.
Ooh.
Where it was right after I was brought back to the US of A, and I still was like not warmed up to my mom at all. Mm-hmm. Quick side note, if you didn't know, I'm adopted. Okay.
Footnote here.
Yeah, footnote. Okay, jumping back into the story. So before I was completely acclimated, I like didn't want anything to do with my mom or
right.
like whatever. And so in order to like kind of coax me out, she would like hold out these cookies, and I would just like walk up, take the cookie, and then turn around and walk right away. I was like, thanks for the cookie, bye. Like,
sounds about right.
Yeah, so from a young age, I was just like, it's for me. Yeah. I'm the main character.
I am the main character. Definitely giving main character energy here.
No, now I feel like I'd be like the funny sidekick, but for the comic relief, you know?
Comic relief.
But I think there was an incident recently that happened to me that kind of, can you have like 2 villain origin stories? Is that a possibility?
I don't think you can have 2 origin stories. I think you can have like 2 villain, what do you call it? Like when it's like the starting point and then you go, starts with a C. Catalyst? Words.
Catalyst?
Yes, maybe. That feels correct. I'm gonna have to Google search words later.
We'll go with that.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah. Where I guess like, well, it's like when you renew your vows. I renewed my origin story.
Renewed my villain era.
Yeah, I was like, I resubscribed today. A recent incident where I was like, yes, I kind of like reminded myself that
she a bad bitch.
I have to, I have to, something happened. I was completely caught by surprise and my confidence really plummeted because of it. And I went into kind of this hole of like, oh, I need to self-reflect. I need to change. Like, what did I do wrong here? Like, and it's always, I'm not saying self-reflection is bad. I think in this case, I was over self-reflecting where it was like really not, I wasn't reflecting to find a solution. I was just reflecting to like bash on myself. And that was not good. Like instead and then I had to like quickly like reroute my mind and my thinking to be like, okay, if you're spending a lot of time on this situation where the person who is involved probably does not give a crap anyway. So why are you spending so much energy, so much time thinking about how you affected the relationship, what the energy you're putting into it, if they really don't care, you know? So why not instead reroute that energy into healing yourself and building that confidence back up?
Yeah.
And so I think that was kind of like a reboot, you know, and I was like, oh, I need to find my villain era again. Like, yeah.
That gives me, to put it in like a actual, like in a movie context of like a villain era, that gives me like when for like questionable quote villains, like how all that's coming to my head, I'm getting super hyped for the new Doctor Strange movie. So me and my partner are like in this Marvel theme right now. So the only instance coming up to me is like how Loki is like a questionable quote villain, right? Like he's more of an anti-hero than a villain, but like what you're talking about now gives me moments of like when a villain is questionably turned to be good, like they're leaning towards the quote good side, maybe more of an anti-hero moment, and then something terrible happens to them, and they're like, nah, fuck this. This is actually why I'm a, like you said, renews their vows, like revives the villain era of like, this is why I have my, whatever their mission or whatever their vendetta is, to be like, quote, quote, evil and mean, like, and realigns them to that. I feel like this situation you're describing was that moment for you where it realigned. You were brought down by the people-pleasing tendencies, and you're like, maybe I should care about what people think. Maybe I should revive this relationship, whatever it is. And then after some self-reflection, you're like, nah, fuck them bitches.
Yeah. I'm a bad bitch.
Exactly.
Yeah. Have you had any examples?
Well, can I if I haven't really gone into my villain era? I don't know. I don't want to sound like, I don't want to say golden child because I'm not either, but like a, whatever is like not a villain. I'm not a hero. I'm not giving no main character energy here. But I don't think I'm a villain.
You're
I'm just,
extra number 3.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think I'm a questionable extra, if anything. I'm vibing. I'm just bopping around,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's I mean, your situation reminded me of a situation I had where within my friend group, there was someone revived drama, and there was kind of this idea going around that, yes, I was the quote, quote villain, and I kind of betrayed this person, and I was like, pump the fucking brakes. What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
I did no such thing.
Yeah.
And so I was very defensive of myself. I even confronted the person directly, and I was like, okay, so what the fuck's happening? Like, why are you not really bad-mouthing me, because they weren't saying anything directly, but like, why are you going up dredging things and telling lies? And we had to hash it out. Turns out it was kind of a huge misunderstanding of just like how they interpreted certain things, and I was like, you were actually the villain here, and they're like, wait, but I thought you were. And I was like, no, I wasn't. And she was like, no, I'm not. And it was a very complicated situation, but it goes to show like how just different interpretations, like I was painting this person to be the villain in my story because of this one instance, and they totally interpreted it a different way, where they're like, no, what I did was correct, and how you, quote quote being me, reacted to that was the villain. And I was like, well, how I reacted was justified based off of what you did. A lot of back and forth, and I think that was me. It's not quite a villain era, because it didn't change really anything. If any, it was maybe like a mini villain era, because I like confronted this person very directly and I stood up for myself, because I was like, what are you doing? We are not doing this, like absolutely not.
Yeah.
And I kind of came into it with this energy of like, we're either going to be friends and we're going to work this out and we're going to be cool and we're going to get over it, or we need to cut it off and like go our separate ways, because I'm not dealing with this like weird energy that's being put into the world right now. I'm not for it. And luckily we were able to work it out and see that it was just a big fat dumb misunderstanding, and we were able to put it behind us. But that was definitely brink of maybe a villain era, kind of. It was at least a moment.
A baby. What's less than an era? A moment?
A moment?
A villain moment?
Yeah. Moment feels like very downgraded after being followed by the word era.
We gotta look it up.
Dynasty?
What?
How long is a dynasty? How long is an era?
I'm only typing with one hand, so this is gonna take a minute.
Is it your right or left hand?
Right.
Damn. This may be a while, folks.
Yeah. Please hold. I googled what is a step down from an arrow, and it's just like everything is like, it's an end of an era.
What about how long is an era?
Oh, how long? Several 100 million years.
Oh, right on. So like a dynasty works, because it's not several 100 million.
Yeah. You're just a few 100 million.
Yeah. Exactly.
That is beside the point. Anyway. Yeah, I think there are a lot of steps in a villain era. Mm-hmm. It's like you have the catalyst that sets everything off.
Yeah.
Then you have the healing and self-reflection. Then you have like the self-acceptance, and then you like, I guess that's like pre-villain era, and then you start your villain era.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. There's a lot of steps we are coming to realize before you actually enter the villain era, because the villain era would be defined as just giving zero shits, I think, towards other people's reactions and views of you know, like truly doing your own thing. But to enter that, you have to, it's almost like a pyramid scheme, you know, you have to pass certain gateways and levels of, you know, understanding that you will not be the hero in everyone's story, okay? And then you have to accept it as you're faced with people pushing back on what you're doing, how you're acting, you know, certain ways of how you are existing that don't align with their view of you. And then you have to keep consistent with that, and just there's a lot of levels to get there before you can finally be like, okay, now I am secure in me, enter villain era.
Yeah, I think the healing step is the biggest part, and it was like, I think it was the hardest part for me to deal with consistently. It was like I went through phases of, oh, it's all my fault, I need to self-reflect, it was on me. Then it went to kind of like anger of, no, it's not my fault, like it's their fault, you know, like how they treated me in this situation. And then it went through like, okay, I just need to completely forget about it and move on. And I think that was like the biggest mistake I made in this past one, because I was like, you know what, I'm just dropping it. Like, and I think I've touched on this before in previous episodes, I really don't have a high tolerance, I guess, energy wise for drama. Like I don't enjoy being in it, so I just like try to let things go as quickly as possible, just for my own sanity. And so I think that's what I tried to do this time. I was like, you know what, like I'm just gonna let it go, I'm gonna move on. But in this case, it was an interesting case, because for a while, I think the only critic and the only person that affected my confidence was me. But this time it was someone else that kind of
came at you.
Yeah, came at me and shattered my confidence. And so when I was trying to heal from that, I was going about it in the way that I would just like self-criticize, like heal from self-criticism, but it's different because it's coming from someone else. And so when I tried to say like, oh, I'm just gonna drop it, I did not drop it. I tried to move on and not really acknowledging that I still needed to heal from the hurt rather than just moving on. So I kind of, that whole healing stage was like cyclical. Is that a word? Cyclical? A circle.
Sure. A circle. Sure.
Until I realized like, nope, I need to give myself time to heal, and it's okay that I need to give myself time to heal, rather than being like, no, I just need to move on. So, and now I'm here.
So where did that conflict end? Were you able to patch things with this person or reach an agreement, or did you truly just like drop it and things are left wherever they were?
I had said my final piece, and I am at like, I'm okay with where I left it.
Yeah.
I personally think that I left the ball in their court, and I'm okay with really not having any contact.
Yeah.
If I see, like, the hard thing is that we do have mutual friends.
Yeah.
So basically I'm just not gonna really talk about it in the mutual friend group.
Yeah, of course not.
If I'm approached, yeah, like if I'm approached, I think the only way I would talk about it is if this other person was there too, because I don't want to speak on the topic if they're not there to really defend themselves. Hence why I'm being very vague in this situation. But yeah, I'm also the type of person who can, not to brag, it's seriously not to brag. I can
brag. No, seriously.
Yeah, just I can I'm okay with cutting people out of my life.
Yeah.
Because I think very logically of like, does the good outweigh the bad? Mm-hmm. If it doesn't, if this person's bringing more negativity into my life than they are positivity, then I don't need them around. And that's part of my not people pleasing. So yeah, I left the ball in their court. I have healed from this situation. I'm now in my renewed villain era, and I'm sick.
Good summary.
So yes.
Okay, so you peaked twice into villain era.
Yes.
Kristen had.
I hope to keep renewing my subscription.
Oh, of course. So
anyway,
you've entered peak villain era twice. Kristen had like the slightest like momentary lapse into villain territory, and then right back to people pleaser. Questionable people pleaser.
She's an apprentice.
I am just a Padawan. I feel like someone's gonna listen to this later and hear me talking about how I'm like not a people pleaser. If someone's like a therapist out there, somehow miraculously we have a therapist, psychologist of a sort, and they listen to me, I'm just gonna get a call and they're gonna be like, hi, so we need you to like schedule a session now. You're like a level 5 code red people pleaser. Yikes.
Alright, we're gonna need to talk about a lot of things.
Yeah, we need you to come in right now.
Yeah. How about twice a week?
Every day, actually.
We'll just set you up a tent. You like camping. I heard it. I heard on the podcast you like camping.
Exactly.
I guess that was more of a talking of real life villain era villains. How we have to come to the acceptance that like you're not going to be the hero in everyone's story. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. You know?
I really want to learn that. I really need to. I'm so afraid of like not, and that's the people pleasing. I'm just so afraid of not that sometimes I won't do anything, and that's my way of like tiptoeing into the villain era is like, if I don't do anything, then I'm not breaking like this hero complex, but I'm also not entering villain era territory, so I just like will withdraw completely. But then someone can also interpret that as like a villain era.
You would be the most harmless villain. I
really would. I'd be like the villain sidekick that like fails at their job horribly and actually like aids the hero. That would be me.
Oh my
100%.
God. Would you be Dr. Draken? Okay, Kim Possible reference?
Oh my God, yes. I would totally be Draken. I totally, like, if I had tried to be a villain, I would absolutely be Draken. Like, I would try to be a villain over, like, this one small, like, slight, like, the pettiest thing in my life. And if anything's gonna push me into a villain era, it would be over, like, the smallest thing. And then everything I try to do to correct this slight and enter a villain era will just be, like, horribly wrong.
Oh my goodness.
That would totally be me. Or, like, Doofenshmirtz. You know, they're the same they're the same energy.
Oh my God, Dr. Draken and Dr. Doofenshmirtz.
They're the same energy. They're the same person.
That's crazy. That's so funny. I love them both, so it makes sense. I don't know. What kind of villain would I be? I don't know.
You'd be Shigo.
I'm trying to go through. Shigo? Thank you.
But then, so does that mean I'm the main character? Think about it.
I think we're both side characters.
No.
Kim Possible's the main character.
No. Fuck Impossible for like a hot second. Between Dragon and Shigo, who is the main character?
I don't know.
Because I feel like it's meant to be Dragon, but like we all were obsessed with Shigo more than Dragon.
She was the comedic relief, I'm telling you.
No, Dragon was the comedic relief. She was the sass and the logic. She was the comedic relief because she pointed out the comedic flaws in Draken.
Yeah.
But it was really Draken just being a dumbass. Like, yeah, she was just like, literally, no. And he's like, ah, shit, you're right. And that was...
Oh, yeah, the flaw in my plan.
Yeah. Yes, the glaring flaw in my plan. Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, if we were in a movie, would you want to be a hero or a villain?
Like, I'd want to be a villain because like they'd be kind of cool, but I think realistically I'd be the hero. Like I want to be the villain, but I don't think I'd be the villain.
Am I the villain? I don't think I'm the villain.
Yeah, exactly. What would you would want to be the villain, I feel like.
Hell yeah.
You'd want to be the villain so bad.
I'd want to be. They have so much more fun.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I don't want to be weighed down by morals, but like I probably would. You know?
Yes, you are a good person.
I don't like it. It's very inconvenient for my life, honestly.
I'm trying to think about, if I was a villain, what would my mission be? What would my superpowers be? I don't know.
Is it a superpower still? If it's a villain?
I think so.
Interesting.
Villains can have superpowers.
Yeah, I guess so. Because I was thinking like superhero, superpower. Villains.
Villain.
Anti-power?
Subtle power? I don't know.
Subtle flex.
Average power.
Normalcy.
Mid.
Oh my god. Everything
no.
about it is mid. Mid.
Yeah, I feel like my superpower would just be like minor inconveniences all day.
Ugh, I would hate you. God, I would hate you to be my villain. I would really
My weakness,
would.
stairs.
And you know what's worse is that would absolutely get me. Like if you were my villain and your super villain power was minor inconveniences, that would wreck my fucking day. Like every time. That would
be like,
wreck my day.
Oh, you're in a rush? Every red light. Oh.
No, exactly. Oh my god, I say that all the time. When I'm driving and someone does something like really dickish and I hate them and like I want to cuss them out, I'm always like, I hope you have a large minor inconvenience in your day. And that's all I wish upon them. Yeah.
What would your superhero or supervillain power be?
My villain power? Oof. I want to say just like bad karma, but that's not really a power. That's fully trusting the universe to like beat bitches back.
Yeah.
You know? So I don't know if that really counts. I don't know. See, I'm bad at being a villain. I can't even think of a villain power.
Okay, superhero power.
Ugh, can't even think of that either. See, I'm mid. I've decided I'm mid.
Alrighty. I feel like my weakness would be stairs.
Stairs?
Yeah, like imagine I'm running after someone, right? And then they go upstairs. I'd be like, all right, you're safe. I can't do that.
You meant stairs like with the IR, not a RE.
Yeah. Both.
Like
I just immobilized by eye contact and cardio.
I'm immobilized by eye contact and cardio.
Well, honestly, that's just me already. Social anxiety.
Damn.
And I don't like exercise.
I think we're just realizing you fully are in a villain era. Like, it's full send.
Oh, man.
Oh, my gosh. That's why I was looking at you.
Eye contact.
Well, first I was trying to process, like, how would that be like a kryptonite? And then I was like, oh my god, I'm staring at her. And then you were talking about if someone was going upstairs, and I was like, oh no, she means like the noun of
the thing. Yeah.
That's my superpower. Well, just like in general, but I think that could totally be a different episode. I would want to have teleportation as a superpower.
Ooh.
This is nothing to do with other people, but I just want to have teleportation.
Yeah. Do you believe that, like, you have to calculate, like, a lot of math goes into teleportation because if the world is spinning, then you have to, like, account for that? Or do you believe that you can just pop up anywhere?
In a practical sense of teleportation, or in this theoretical world where I have superpowers?
Theoretical world.
No.
See, same. I always like to think that, and then everyone's, like, poking holes in my theories, and I'm like, stop.
Well, like, okay.
This isn't real.
I feel like, yeah, if we had reached a point where, like, we could physically actually create teleportation. Yeah, there'd be math involved and shit, but like in this theoretical world where we can teleport, first of all, nah, fuck math. Sorry.
Math doesn't exist in the theoretical world.
Exactly. We just blindly accept truths, like. Yes. Like, oh, that weird
this
shit
person's
just happened?
flying.
Yeah, exactly. Just be like, all right, cool, and move on.
Yeah, I agree.
Magical realism,
I feel like,
my guy.
Yeah. I feel like now that we've kind of turned towards a different villain route, do you have a favorite villain? Like from any movies or like growing up like character?
I guess Shigo. That's just because I don't know if it's just because of relevancy of what we were just talking about, but that's the first one I could think of is Shigo. She was just so sassy, and I was like, you're absolutely right. Draken's a dumbass. Like, that made complete sense, what you said. And I loved her for that. And she truly could have done anything else, but she chose to aid this just dumbass scientist. And truly, that's what she wanted to spend her free time doing. Hilarious.
Yeah, I was like, why are you hanging out with this guy? Literally. He was literally going nowhere. He's so stupid.
Made no
I don't
sense.
know. She was just bored.
I mean, she must have it all together, you know? When you're in your peak villain era, you don't need you don't need gratification from others. You can truly do whatever the fuck you want. And I think she embodied that perfectly.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think I'm kind of going through some of the Disney movies because I feel like that's where they really define villains. I like Ursula. I think she's funny.
Interesting.
She was like, listen, bitch. Yeah. She's like, listen, you dumb bitch. Give me your voice to show you that men are trash.
I mean, yeah, she was telling it how it is. She really was.
Yeah. And she had a nice song.
I was gonna say, Poor Unfortunate Souls is just playing in my head right now.
What other? Oh, Hades. Hades is my favorite villain.
I fucking loved Hades. My car is named after him. Fun fact for everyone. My car's name is Hades.
Dude, he was hilarious. He was funny.
Yeah.
He actually was like a good villain.
Good in which sense? Like, what do you define what you mean by good villain?
Like, I think he actually, like, his character was funny. He had like his little sidekicks. He had a bigger role, I think, throughout the movie. And I feel like he got a lot done.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like he had a clear goal of what he wanted to do. It wasn't over petty spite. Like, he kind of got the short end of the straw for his entire life by being guardian of the underworld, and he makes that very clear in the first 2 minutes of the movie in a little snarky, sassy way. Loved it. And he kept consistent with his goal the whole way. There was no real side detours to his plan. He was very clear and consistent with it. I do like Hades. I think he was a great villain.
Summary. Villain era. There's a pre-villain era. Then there's a villain era. Then there are villains.
Is there a post-villain era, you think?
Post-villain era. I don't know. That's a good question. Because the villain era is just kind of when you're living for yourself.
Unless it's post-villain era retroactive and you've gone back to people pleasing.
Maybe it's like a circle.
Yeah, maybe
a circle. The second reference to a circle.
Oh, we went different ways on that. Rip.
It's okay.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Midnight Memo and discussing villain eras, our favorite villains.
Yeah, everything villains.
Everything villain this episode. If you have any thoughts on villain, or tell us who your favorite villain is. I'm curious.
Yeah, or your villain, or what's your villain origin story?
What's your villain origin story? Yes, I like that. Or have you not entered your villain origin or your villain era yet? Let us know. Email us at themidnightmemo@gmail.com or message us via TikTok and Instagram at themidnightmemo. We would love to hear from you guys. Don't forget to also rate the podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and follow us so you can be notified when our next episode drops next Tuesday. If you like what we're doing here and would love to support the podcast further, we'd really appreciate it. hit the link in the description and show your support there. Bye.
Adios.
Oh, bilingual she is.
I am.
Bilingual, 2 words.
Bilingual by 2 words. By dos words.
Now there's
okay,
tres.
I'll stop. Ah! Okay.
Okay, bye.
I need to stop.